Hello everyone and welcome back to another week's video. Today I'm going to be teaching you all some of the best comebacks to anti-feminist arguments. So saddle right in. What? Saddle right in? Saddle right in. I wanted to make this video because there are so many times when I'm like so fired up and I want to make it like an excellent point to someone and just like blow their mind, but I just get like I get tongue-tied, or I get like scared, or I just like they kind of like are making good points and I'm like, oh god, maybe they're right, and you're like panicking and you're thinking, oh god, no, maybe they're or like I'm not confident enough and I like don't like really believe in myself enough, or like I don't have like the facts and figures to back it up, and then like they end up like winning an argument essentially, and like obviously that's not what it's about, but like there are so many good just things to say to people, but like because like there are so many arguments that are like just so classic, and it's like, oh my god, you actually think you're the first person to like make that comment? It's like, no. So I just wanted to like make a video about like some of the best comebacks you can honestly like learn off, or just have a think about it, maybe like use them yourself one day if someone says some of these things to you, and just help us fight the feminist cause one day at a time. And obviously this isn't just like men who like say anti-feminist arguments, it's women as well, it's everyone, you know, like it's just like society as a whole, anyone who doesn't believe that like gender inequality exists are gonna maybe make these comments. So these are just some handy tips and tricks that might help you win your feminist argument and be like, woo, mic drop. Moving on. So the first one, and I like mentioned this kind of slightly in one of my last videos, but like when people say like, oh, like go over to the Middle East or like Saudi Arabia where sexism like really exists. And like there are so many things to say back to this in general, but like one of them can just be like, okay, first of all, that's just like so not true, but like second of all, it's like if you're so worried about the women in Saudi Arabia, go fight for them. Like work away, go fight for the women of Saudi Arabia who really need your help. Like if you're so concerned, like if you're so concerned as to bring it up right now and like to throw in my face, go out there and help them. Like what are they gonna say? Like whatever, like, do you know what I mean? Like, go help them. I'm just kind of like, what? And another one is like, say if women are, you know, talking about their issues and someone's like, oh, what about the men? And it's like, well, what about the men? Yeah, that they have issues too, go fight for them. But like, no one's saying you can't. Like, what's your point? Like, if you're, again, so concerned, go fight for them. If women are saying like, oh yeah, you know, we're abused by men, and it's, people are like, well, you know, like men get abused by women too, and it's like, yeah, that's true. Like, again, not denying that. But again, go fight for that, you know? And that's kind of known as like, you know, whataboutery. It's like basically when you make a comment and someone just says, what about so-and-so in response to it. It's called whataboutery, which I think is an excellent word. And it's like, it is possible to talk about more than one issue at one time, you know? So it's like, just because we're talking about like one issue does not mean that we don't care about another one. We just happen to be talking about this one right now. So they're not like mutually exclusive. Like it is possible to care about more than one issue at once. Like I hope we all do. Or like another one is kind of like, and it's kind of sad, but it's like, you know, when women talk about the amount of rapes that are done by men to women, you know, and they come back with, you know, well, men are raped as well, and it's like, yeah, that's true, but a lot of the time it's also done by men. Like, and that's actually just the fact of the matter. It is. And again, it's just like, you know, it's just like, it's kind of whataboutery, but it's like, yes, and it's horrific, men being raped, but they're raped by men. That's the simple fact of the matter. You know? And it's kind of like, I kind of even hate saying that one, because it's not like you're not kind of happy winning that argument, you know, like you're not being like, oh yeah, well, you know, like, men do that too, and it's like, this isn't a happy conversation, it's just something that actually kind of needs to be said, you know. The problem is still, unfortunately, with men in that instance, and that needs to be fixed. Another one, and obviously this is kind of a benevolent sexism one, when, you know, people say like, oh, you know, be careful on your way home, you know, don't do this or don't do that, and I'm just like, okay, instead of telling me to be careful, why don't you go out and tell your friends not to like attack women or harass women? Like, what is your point in telling me to be careful? Like, that's just me personally. I'm particularly annoyed by that one. Then if people say like, oh, you're so emotional, you must be on your period, like my kind of thoughts on that one is just to own it. Like sometimes I'm on my period and I'm quite emotional on my period. So I'm like, yeah, you know, and it's taken me a long time to get there. I mean, I don't really hang out with people anymore who say those kind of things. Like, do people still say those things? I don't know. But if I was on my period and I was feeling emotional, like, I would just be like, yeah, because it's true and there's nothing shameful about it. And I feel kind of sometimes like being like, oh no, I'm not on my period, or like I'm not emotional. Like, it's not a big deal. Like, it's kind of almost like shaming being emotional or shaming being on your period. And in my opinion, there's just nothing wrong with being either of those things. Obviously, as long as you're not like screaming at someone for no reason or like attacking someone, like obviously that's like, you know, not nice. But if you're just, you know, I don't know, being sad or maybe just being a little like, you know, and someone's like, are you on your period? Just be like, yeah. Like, we can just like tell them to fuck off and also destigmatize periods at the same time. It is a win-win. Then when people are on about like, oh, like, my free speech, this argument could go on for ages, and like it's like so nuanced and so talked about. But one thing that I saw recently by Feminist Next Door, she's on Twitter, she's an icon, I encourage you all to go look at her page. She was like, okay, yeah, fair, your free speech, but what about the free speech of women who are driven offline because of what they say, and they're afraid that they're gonna get like murdered or raped? Like, what about their free speech? Like, women are literally being silenced out of fear. Like, so it's like, yeah, you can talk all you want about like your free speech and the things you say, but like, why does it not matter that the repercussions of your free speech are literally forcing women to be quiet and negate their free speech? Like, do you not see the problem there? Or another one is simply like when people say, oh, what about free speech? And you say, well, yeah, you're entitled to your free speech, but you're not entitled to no consequences from that free speech. That's kind of another one that I like. So maybe, yeah, you can use those. And if you have other suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. Another one I saw recently was, there was like this kind of women only space. They were doing like a physical activity, it was like yoga or something, and it was like, oh, women only. And a guy said, oh, is that not exclusionary? No, or what's happening? And to that, I'm kind of just like, well, like, you could go and make your you know, men only space if you want. Like, and like, one, I'm kind of like, there are so many men only spaces anyway. But it's like, yeah, hey, this is our space, but like, you're totally free to go make your own space if you want. Like, it's not any big issue. Like, this just happens to be our space. Like, you know, so that's kind of my thoughts on that. Then another one is like, you know, all the women that have come forward with allegations that like, or Kelly or Trump or anyone, and people say, oh, that they're just doing it for fame. Like, oh my goodness. Like, my comeback for this is just like, okay, give me their names. Give me the names of any of the women that have come forward. And like, people never can, because they don't have a clue, because these women are not famous. Like, they didn't get famous as a result of pressing charges or making accusations, so they didn't get what they supposedly wanted. Like, no, like, give me the names, or stop telling me that these women just want fame, because they don't. Bye! Next one is when people are on about chivalry, and they're like, oh, I'm just being chivalrous, and I'm just like holding the door open for you. And if they say like, oh, it's about like respecting women, and like it's all about respect, but then I come back to you and say, well, oh, okay, actually no, I don't really feel like I'm being respected here. If they don't then respect that opinion, then chivalry is not about respect. Like, they're literally not respecting you and your opinion when you talk about things that bother you, or like if you don't like this certain thing that they're doing. But that's not chivalry. Like, it's just like, you've literally just gone back on what you said you were doing, but okay. Another one, when people say like, oh yeah, it was just a joke. Like, oh my god, ah! If they you know, make a misogynistic joke or whatever, and they say like, oh no, like, it was just a joke, calm down. And it's like, just because it was a joke doesn't mean that it wasn't misogynistic. Like, it just means that you think misogyny is funny and okay. Like, you know, like, I just kind of like, when they're like, it's just a joke, it's like, what are you meant to say back to that? It's just kind of like meant to silence women or something. And I'm just like, oh, so you think misogyny is funny and okay then? That's weird. Like, I mean, it's just this kind of, I'm kind of like, what point are you even trying to make? So that's just kind of my thoughts on that one. And some other funny one, like, when people are like, oh, women complain too much. And it's like, you just complained though. It's like, you just complained about women complaining too much. Or another one, when people are like, oh, boys will be boys. And it's like, and this is the one that's done the rounds a bit. And it's like, oh no, boys will be held accountable for their actions. That's what boys will do, woohoo! And again, again, that's just like, that's like guys saying that, or that's like, you know, mothers saying that about their sons, and it's like, oh, it's kind of like, oh, so you're saying like boys will be boys, like, oh, boys are inherently like misogynistic and violent? Oh, right, okay, that's weird that you think that. It's a bit of a low bar to put men on, but alright, whatever. And then to wrap it up, finally one last one, when International Women's Day rolls around every year, one of the most searched questions on Google, and you can literally Google this, is when is International Men's Day? And guys, I'm here to tell you, it's November 19th. You're welcome. So that is my video this week. I hope that will be somewhat useful for you. If you end up using any of them, let me know. If you can think of other ones, let me know in the comments or anything, or write to me or whatever. Again, I would love if you like my page or my video if you enjoyed it, and give it a share or whatever, give it a heart reaction, whatever is in your heart's desire. I would love it. Thank you very, very much for watching again. I really, really appreciate every time you like and watch. It's really, really lovely. And yeah, hope you enjoy, and see you in the next one. Bye!